The massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers slid open with a deep rumble that echoed through the vast hall on Zentari Prime. Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire walked slowly toward the central podium, his crystalline blue skin reflecting the amber lights that hung from the domed ceiling. Around him, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their designated sections, their various forms creating a bizarre collection of shapes and colors that would have amazed any human seeing it for the first time. But today was not about amazement. Today was about fear. Captain Jake Morrison sat in the human observation section, his hands gripped tightly on the metal railing in front of him. His brown hair was cut short in military fashion, and his green eyes watched every movement in the chamber below. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Carter worked frantically on her portable computer, her blonde hair falling across her face as she typed calculations and evacuation plans with increasing desperation. "Citizens of the galaxy," Veltar began, his voice amplified. "By the chamber's sound system, we gather here today to address the greatest threat our peaceful civilization has ever faced. Not a threat from outside our borders, not from some unknown enemy in the void, but from within our own territories." Jake felt his stomach tighten. He had known this day would come, but seeing it happen still felt like a punch to the gut. Around the chamber, alien heads nodded in agreement. Species that had never agreed on anything were united in their fear of humanity. "For 200 years, Veltar continued, we have watched the humans spread through our galaxy like a disease. They arrived in primitive ships, claiming to seek only trade and friendship. We welcomed them, as we have welcomed all species who wish to join our peaceful community. But what have they brought us in return?" The Zephyrian ambassador paused, letting his words sink in. Jake could see other humans in the observation areas, their faces pale with worry. There were maybe 50 humans total in the chamber, watching as their fate was decided by beings who had never tried to understand them. "They have brought us chaos," Veltar said, his voice rising. "They have brought us war. They have brought U.S. ideas that threaten the very foundation of our orderly society. The humans speak of individual rights, of democracy, of the freedom to choose one's own path in life. These concepts may seem harmless, but they are poison to the stability we have maintained for thousands of years." Dr. Carter looked up from her computer, her blue eyes meeting Jake's. "They're really going to do it," she whispered. "The vote counts I'm seeing suggest overwhelming support for expulsion." Jake nodded grimly. He had served in the human diplomatic corps for 15 years, ever since humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel and joined the galactic community. He had seen the fear growing in alien eyes, had heard the whispered conversations about the human problem in council corridors. But he had hoped that reason would prevail. "Look at what they have accomplished in just 2 centuries, Veltar continued. The Kaleri people, peaceful and content in their caste system for millennia, now question why some must serve while others rule. The gentle Moravians, who have never known conflict, now form what they call labor unions and demand better working conditions. Even our own Zephyrian colonies speak of electing their own governors rather than accepting those appointed by the Empire." The ambassador's crystalline features darkened. "This is not progress. This is destruction. The humans call it freedom, but we see it for what it truly is. The end of order, the collapse of civilization as we know it." Jake stood up slowly, his movement causing several alien heads to turn toward the human section. The chamber fell silent as he prepared to speak. Protocol allowed for the accused species to address the council before any vote, though Jake doubted it would make any difference. "Honored representatives," Jake began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber, "you speak of chaos and destruction, but what has humanity really brought to this galaxy? We have shared our medical knowledge, saving millions of lives across dozens of worlds. We have developed new technologies that have improved living standards for everyone. We have fought alongside you against pirates and raiders, protecting trade routes and colonies." Some of the alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Jake pressed on. "You fear our ideas about freedom and democracy, but have You asked yourselves why these ideas spread so easily? Perhaps it is because thinking beings naturally desire to control their own destinies. Perhaps the problem is not that we brought these concepts, but that you spent so long denying them to your own people. Veltar's mandibles clicked angrily. Empty words from a species that has mastered the art of deception. You speak of medical advances, but you fail to mention that human colonies have the highest crime rates in the galaxy. You speak of protecting trade routes, but human ships are also the most heavily armed. You speak of improving living standards, but human worlds are the most polluted and overcrowded. Because we're growing, Jake replied. Because we're not content to remain static for thousands of years. Because we believe that progress sometimes requires taking risks and making mistakes. And there lies the heart of the problem, Veltar said triumphantly. You are not content. You always want? More territory, more resources, more influence. Your species cannot exist without expanding, without changing everything around you to suit your needs. You are a cancer that spreads through healthy tissue, destroying everything it touches. The chamber erupted in what passed for applause among the various species. Chirping, clicking, buzzing, and other alien sounds of approval filled the air. Jake sat down heavily, knowing that nothing he could say would change their minds. Dr. Carter leaned close to him. I've run the numbers, she whispered. Without human contributions to galactic trade, they're going to face serious economic problems within 5 years. Our mining operations alone account for 30% of raw material extraction. Our agricultural worlds feed over 2 billion non-humans. That's their problem now, Jake replied bitterly. The vote was called quickly. One by one, the species representatives announced their positions. The Altarians voted for expulsion. The Centauri Federation voted for expulsion. The Draconian Empire voted for expulsion. Only the mysterious Vorthan Collective abstained, their insectoid representative offering no explanation for their silence. When the final tally was announced, 45 species had voted in favor of Resolution 2847X, the complete expulsion of humanity from all Council-controlled space. 0 species had voted against it. 2 had abstained. The resolution passes by overwhelming majority, Veltar announced with satisfaction. Humanity has 90 galactic standard days to evacuate all personnel, vessels, and installations from Council space. After that deadline, any human presence will be considered an act of aggression and will be met with immediate military response. Jake stood again, his jaw clenched with suppressed anger. You're making the biggest mistake in galactic history, he called out, his voice cutting through the celebration. Humanity has given you nothing but friendship and cooperation for 2 centuries. We've bled and died protecting your colonies. We've shared our knowledge freely. And this is how you repay. U.S. Veltar's laugh was like breaking glass. Threats and intimidation, even in defeat. You prove our point perfectly, Captain Morrison. Your species is incapable of accepting any result that does not favor you. This isn't a threat, Jake replied. Coldly, it's a prediction. Someday, you're going to face a real enemy, something that wants to destroy rather than cooperate. And when that day comes, you'll wish you still had humanity fighting beside you. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then Veltar spoke again, his voice filled with contempt. If such a day ever comes, Captain, we will handle it as we always have, through unity, wisdom, and the strength that comes from working together in harmony. We will not miss your chaos and violence. As Jake and the other humans filed out of the chamber, Dr. Carter grabbed his arm. 90 days, she said. 42 million humans scattered across 300 worlds and stations. It's going to be the largest evacuation in galactic history. Jake nodded, already thinking about the massive logistics involved. But as they walked through the corridors of the council building, passing alien delegates who refused to meet their eyes, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was not an ending, it was a beginning. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching through the massive viewscreen as another convoy of human ships prepared to leave the Kepler mining colonies. The sight should have filled her with despair, but instead she felt only cold determination. 42 million humans scattered across 300 worlds had exactly 73 days left to evacuate everything they had built over 2 centuries. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Ben Murphy from his station, "the mining platforms at Kepler 7 are reporting they can strip their essential equipment, but the heavy machinery will have to be left behind. It would take 6 months to properly dismantle and transport everything." Kate nodded without turning from the view screen. "Tell them to take what they can carry and destroy what they can't. I won't give the Council the satisfaction of using our equipment after they throw us out." The evacuation had been running for 17 days now, and Kate had seen enough to know that humanity was losing far more than homes and property. They were losing the fruits of 2 centuries of hard work and sacrifice. The agricultural worlds in the Tau Ceti system had vast farms that fed not just humans but dozens of other species. The research stations orbiting Proxima Centauri held laboratories, where human scientists had developed cures for diseases that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. The mining operations throughout the Outer Rim provided raw materials that kept galactic civilization running. All of it would be abandoned. Dr. Lisa Carter approached from the science station, her face grim with exhaustion. She had been working around the clock to coordinate the evacuation of scientific personnel and research data. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the Council's economic projections. Without human agricultural output, they're going to face food shortages within 2 years. Without our mining operations, industrial production will drop by 30%. Without our medical research facilities, they'll lose decades of progress in treating genetic diseases." "Their choice," Kate replied, though she felt no satisfaction in the Council's coming problems. "What about our people? Where are we going to resettle 42 million humans?" Lisa pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy's spiral arms. "Long-range scouts have identified several star systems beyond the rim that could support human colonies. The problem is, they're all in uncharted space. We have no idea what we might find out there." "Unknown is better than unwanted," Kate said. "At least in uncharted space, we won't have neighbors trying to get rid of us." The communication system chimed, and Captain Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. He was calling from the diplomatic vessel Friendship, which was coordinating evacuations in the inner worlds. His usual calm demeanor was cracked with stress and anger. "Admiral, we've got a problem at the Vega colonies. The local council administrator is demanding that we leave behind all infrastructure, including the orbital habitats. He's claiming they belong to the system government, not to the human colonists." Kate's jaw tightened. Those habitats were built with human resources and human labor. "The colonists have every legal right to take them." That's what I told him," Jake replied. "He says legal rights don't apply to expelled species. He's threatening to use system defense forces to prevent us from dismantling the habitats." "Then we don't dismantle them," Kate said coldly. "We evacuate the people and blow the habitats. If they want our infrastructure so badly, they can have the debris." Jake's expression showed he approved of the decision. "Understood, Admiral. I'll inform the colonists to prepare for emergency evacuation." As the communication ended, Lieutenant Murphy reported from his station. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Commander Rick Davis. He's with the long-range scout group in Sector 447. Put him through." Commander Davis appeared on screen, and Kate could immediately see excitement in his eyes, despite the poor signal quality from deep space. Behind him, the bridge of his scout ship hummed with activity. "Admiral, you need to see this. We found something out here beyond the rim, something incredible. We've discovered ruins of an ancient civilization, and their technology makes Council ships look like toys." Kate leaned forward. "What kind of ruins?" "Massive space stations, Admiral. They appear to have been abandoned for millions of years, but they're still functional. The strange thing is, they seem designed for beings with human physiology. The doorways are the right height. The control interfaces respond to human touch. Even the atmospheric processors are calibrated for oxygen-nitrogen atmospheres." Dr. Carter moved closer to the screen. Commander, have you been able to activate any of their systems? That's the incredible part, Doctor. The stations seem to recognize us. When our teams approach, systems automatically come online. We've found what appears to be a construction facility that's already beginning to manufacture equipment. The designs are unlike anything we've ever seen. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. Commander, maintain your current position but don't activate anything else until we can get a full science team out there. This could be exactly what we need. Understood, Admiral. But there's something else you should know. The technology here isn't just advanced, it's specifically adapted for human use. It's almost like whoever built these stations knew we were coming. After ending the communication, Kate found herself staring out at the stars. In 17 days of evacuation, she had watched humanity lose everything they had built in 2 centuries of galactic citizenship. But perhaps they were not as alone in the universe as they had believed. Admiral, Dr. Carter said quietly, what if the Council was right to fear us? What if there's something about humanity that even we don't understand? Before Kate could answer, Lieutenant Murphy called out from his station. Admiral, we're receiving distress calls from the agricultural worlds in the Tau Ceti system. They're reporting attacks by unidentified vessels. Kate spun around. What kind of attacks? Unknown, Admiral. The signals are breaking up, but it sounds like bioships of some kind. The descriptions don't match any known Council species. Kate felt ice in her veins. Are they targeting human installations specifically? Negative, Admiral. They appear to be attacking everything in the system, human and non-human colonies alike. Dr. Carter looked up from her console where she was analyzing the distress signals. Admiral, these energy signatures don't match anything in our databases. Whatever's attacking the Tau Ceti system, it's not from any known galactic civilization. Kate made her decision quickly. Change course for Tau Ceti. We're not leaving our people to face an unknown enemy alone. Admiral, Lieutenant Murphy said. Hesitantly, the Council evacuation order specifically forbids human military vessels from operating in their space. If we intervene, they could consider it an act of war. Let them, Kate replied. They want us out of their galaxy? Fine, but we're not leaving until every human is safe. As the Liberty and its escort fleet changed course toward the embattled Tau Ceti system, Kate couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to change in ways none of them could imagine. The Council had expelled humanity to preserve their vision of peaceful order, but something else was stirring in the darkness between stars. 2 hours later, as they approached Tau Ceti, the scale of the disaster became clear. 17 human agricultural worlds were under attack by vessels that looked more grown than built. The bioships moved with organic fluidity, their hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. They showed no interest in communication and responded to all attempts at contact with increased aggression. Admiral, reported the tactical officer, the attacking vessels don't appear to be trying to conquer the worlds. They're strip mining them. They're taking everything, soil, water, atmosphere, even the colonists themselves. Kate watched in horror as one of the bioships enveloped an entire space station, dissolving it like acid on metal. All ships, battle. Stations, we're going in. Admiral, Dr. Carter called out, I'm detecting similar attacks in 3 other systems. All of them former human colonies that were evacuated early. It's like these things are following our evacuation routes. The implication hit Kate like a physical blow. They're not just random raiders. They're hunting us. As the human fleet engaged the bioships in desperate battle, Kate realized that the Council's vote to expel humanity might have just doomed the entire galaxy. Whatever these creatures were, they had been waiting for something. And now that humanity was scattered and vulnerable, they had finally made their move. The question was, had the Council simply wanted a galaxy without humans, or had they unknowingly given these predators exactly the opportunity they had been waiting for? 2 years had passed since the great human exodus, and the Galactic Council chambers on Centauri Prime bore little resemblance to the confident assembly that had voted to expel humanity. Ambassador Veltar stood at the central podium, his crystalline features now cracked with stress lines that had not been there before. Around him, the once proud representatives of 47 species looked haggard and desperate. "Fellow council members," Veltar began, his voice lacking its former authority, "we face a crisis unlike any in our recorded history. The Vorthan Collective has consumed 12 star systems in the past 6 months. Their bioships reproduce faster than our fleets can destroy them, and they show no interest in negotiation or surrender." The Kaleri representative, her normally pristine robes now stained and torn, stood to speak. "My people have lost 3 entire colonies to these creatures. They strip everything from our worlds, the soil, the water, even the atmosphere itself. Those who are captured are taken alive, though we do not know for what purpose." Veltar nodded grimly. The Vorthan Collective had emerged from the void beyond the galactic rim just months after humanity's expulsion. Their ships, if they could be called ships, looked more like massive insects or deep-sea creatures. They moved through space with organic grace, their hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to serve as both communication and weapon systems. "Our military forces have proven inadequate," admitted General Korth of the Draconian Empire, his scaled hide bearing fresh scars from recent battles. "The Collective's vessels adapt to our weapons within hours. Energy weapons that were effective in one engagement become useless in the next. Their ability to evolve countermeasures exceeds our ability to develop new tactics." Dr. Nexus, the chief scientist of the Altarian Federation, activated a holographic display showing the affected regions. "The pattern of their attacks suggests they are not random raiders. They target worlds with specific resource profiles, particularly those rich in rare minerals and advanced technology. Most concerning, they appear to be following the former evacuation routes used by the humans." Uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber. None of the representatives wanted to acknowledge the implication, but it hung in the air like a toxic cloud. "There is something else," Dr. Nexus continued reluctantly. "We have detected strange energy signatures throughout the galaxy. Ancient defense systems that have been dormant for millions of years are beginning to activate. They appear to be targeting council vessels specifically." The Moravian delegate, her usually calm demeanor replaced by visible panic, stood up. "3 of our survey ships have been destroyed by automated weapons platforms that emerge from asteroid fields. The platforms use technology we have never seen before, yet they specifically targeted our vessels while ignoring civilian traffic." Veltar felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him like a physical force. In the 2 years since humanity's expulsion, everything had gone wrong. The economic predictions had been accurate. Without human agricultural output, food shortages were becoming common. Without human mining operations, industrial production had dropped by 30%. Without human medical research, several diseases thought conquered were returning with devastating effect. But the economic problems paled in comparison to the military crisis. The Vorthan Collective was not just conquering territory. They were consuming it entirely. Worlds that had supported billions of lives were left as barren rocks, stripped of everything that could sustain life. "We need to consider all options," Veltar said finally, "including the possibility of seeking aid from those we have previously excluded from our community." The suggestion caused an uproar. Representatives shouted in their various languages, creating a cacophony of anger and fear. The Centauri Federation delegate stood up, his 4 arms gesticulating wildly. "You cannot be serious, Veltar. We expelled the humans because they were a threat to our civilization. Their violent nature and chaotic ideologies made them incompatible with our peaceful society." "And how is our peaceful society faring against the Collective?" Veltar snapped back. "How many of your colonies have fallen while maintaining your commitment to nonviolence?" Before the argument could escalate further, the chamber's communication system activated. A priority message was coming through from the Outer Rim territories. The face that appeared on the main screen belonged to Captain Lisa Hayes of the merchant vessel Phoenix, her expression grim. "Council Control, this is Captain Hayes reporting from the Rigel sector. We have encountered unknown vessels of advanced design operating in the contested zones. They engaged collective bioships that were pursuing our convoy and drove them off with minimal effort. Valtar leaned forward. Captain Hayes, can you describe these unknown vessels? They were unlike anything in our databases, sir. Sleek, silvery ships that seemed to shimmer in and out of visible space. They used weapons that completely disrupted the collective bioships, causing them to retreat rather than adapt. The unknown vessels offered medical assistance to our damaged ships before disappearing. Did they identify themselves? Asked Dr. Nexus. Captain Hayes hesitated. They did, sir, but you're not going to like the answer. The commander identified himself as Tony Blake, formerly of the Terran Colonial Fleet. When I asked how they had acquired such advanced technology, he said humanity had found something in the void beyond council space, something that changed everything. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded immediate military action against these human pirates, while others argued for diplomatic contact. Valtar raised his hand for silence, his mind racing through the implications. Captain Hayes, did these humans make any demands or threats? No, sir. Commander Blake said they were not ready to reveal themselves fully, but they would continue to protect innocent civilians from the collective regardless of species. He said humanity remembered what it felt like to be hunted and would not abandon others to the same fate. After the communication ended, the chamber fell into stunned silence. The implications were staggering. Not only had humanity survived their expulsion, but they had apparently acquired technology that surpassed anything the Council possessed. Dr. Nexus was the first to speak. The energy signatures I mentioned, the ones from the ancient defense systems. If humanity has discovered pre-existing technology in the void, it would explain both their advanced capabilities and the awakening of dormant systems throughout the galaxy. Are you suggesting that humanity has some connection to these ancient civilizations? Asked the Kalari representative. I am suggesting, Dr. Nexus replied carefully, that we may have made a grave error in our assessment of humanity's place in the galaxy. Veltar stood slowly, his crystalline features reflecting the amber lights of the chamber. We have three choices before us. We can continue fighting the collective alone and likely face extinction. We can surrender and hope they show us mercy, which their behavior suggests they will not. Or we can swallow our pride and ask for help from those we wronged. You want us to beg the humans for aid? Asked the Centauri delegate with disgust. I want us to survive, Valtar replied. And if that means acknowledging that we were wrong about humanity, then perhaps it is time for the Council to learn humility. The debate that followed would rage for hours, but deep in his crystalline heart, Valtar already knew what the outcome would be. The proud Galactic Council, which had spent millennia believing in its own superiority, was about to learn the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes, those you cast out in fear are the only ones who can save you when true danger arrives. In the void? Beyond the rim, humanity waited with technology that could save or destroy the galaxy. The question was whether the Council's pride would allow them to ask for the help they desperately needed. Dr. Lisa Carter knelt in the dusty ruins of what had once been a magnificent chamber, her hands trembling as she brushed away millions of years of accumulated debris from the crystal panel before her. The ancient structure stretched endlessly. In all directions, its walls covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. But it was the written records that had shaken her to her core. Admiral Sullivan, she called over her communication device, her voice barely. Steady, you need to come down here immediately. What I found changes everything we thought we knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. The excavation site was located deep within one of the massive space stations that Commander Rick Davis had discovered in the void beyond the galactic rim. For months, human scientists had been exploring these ancient structures, marveling at technology that seemed to anticipate their every need. Doors opened at their approach, control panels responded to human touch, and atmospheric processors automatically adjusted to provide perfect breathing conditions. But it was only now, In this central archive chamber, that the truth had finally been revealed. Admiral Kate Sullivan arrived within the hour, her boots echoing in the vast space as she descended the crystalline steps that led to the archive floor. Around her, the walls pulsed with soft bioluminescent light that seemed to respond to her presence, growing brighter as she approached Dr. Carter's position. "Show me what you found, Lisa," Kate said, trying to keep the exhaustion from her voice. The past 3 years had aged her considerably, the stress of leading humanity's exodus and establishing new colonies in uncharted space taking its toll. Dr. Carter gestured to the crystal panel, which now displayed flowing script in a language that looked hauntingly familiar. "It's proto-human, Admiral. Not just similar to early human languages, but actually ancestral to them. These records predate our earliest civilizations by millions of years, yet they're written in scripts that evolved into our modern alphabets." Kate stared at the glowing text, her mind struggling to process the implications. "That's impossible. Human civilization is barely 10,000 years old." "That's what we thought," Lisa replied, her fingers dancing over the crystal controls. "But according to these archives, humanity once spanned multiple galaxies. Our technology was so advanced that other species considered us gods. We had ships that could cross galactic distances in minutes, weapons that could reshape solar systems, and the power to create or destroy entire civilizations." The display changed, showing star maps that depicted vast human territories stretching across the local galactic cluster. Billions of worlds marked with human symbols, trade routes connecting distant galaxies, and massive installations that dwarfed anything the current Galactic Council had ever built. "If this is true," Kate said slowly, "what happened to this galactic empire? Why are we just discovering it now?" Lisa touched another control, and the display showed what appeared to be a great gathering of human leaders. The beings depicted looked remarkably similar to modern humans, though their technology and clothing suggested a civilization far more advanced than anything Earth had achieved. "They faced a choice," Lisa explained, reading from the translated text. "The human empire had grown so powerful that they risked becoming the very tyrants they had once fought against. Some wanted to continue expanding, to rule the galaxy through strength and technology. But others believed that true wisdom could only come through experience, through learning what it meant to struggle and grow." The display showed images of massive human fleets departing their territories, heading toward the galactic rim and beyond. Cities were abandoned, great works of engineering left to decay, and billions of humans began a voluntary exodus from their empire. "They called it the Great Seeding," Lisa continued. "The most advanced humans would withdraw to the void between galaxies, taking their technology with them. But they would leave behind selected groups on primitive worlds, stripped of their memories and technology to begin again. These groups would grow and develop naturally, eventually reaching the stars through their own efforts." Kate felt a chill run down her spine. "Earth was one of these seeded worlds?" According to this, yes. But the seeding wasn't random. It was carefully planned. The ancient humans knew that someday the younger races would fear their descendants and cast them out. When that happened, the children would be ready to inherit their true birthright. The display shifted again, showing detailed technical specifications for the technology surrounding them. Ships that could phase in and out of normal space, weapons that disrupted matter at the molecular level, and construction facilities that could build entire fleets in days rather than years. "Admiral," Dr. Carter said, her voice filled with awe, "we're not discovering this technology, we're inheriting it. Every system in these stations is keyed to human genetics, human neural patterns, human physiological responses. It was all left here waiting for us." Before Kate could respond, her communication device chimed with an urgent message from the fleet. Commander Tony Blake's face appeared on the small screen, his expression grim. "Admiral, we've got major problems developing throughout the galaxy. Our scout ships are reporting that the Vorthan Collective has accelerated their expansion. They've consumed 23 systems in the past month, and their bioships are appearing in sectors we thought were secure." Kate looked up from the ancient Displays, what about the Council? Are they finally ready to admit they need our help? That's the other problem, Admiral. Our intelligence suggests that some Council species are planning to attack our positions in the void. They believe we're allied with the Collective or that we're planning to invade Council space with our new technology. Lisa shook her head in disbelief. Even facing extinction, they still see us as the enemy? There's more, Tony continued. The ancient defense systems throughout the galaxy are becoming more active. Automated weapons platforms are targeting both Council and Collective vessels. It's like the galaxy itself is preparing for some kind of final conflict. Kate studied the ancient star map still glowing on the crystal display. According to the records, the original human empire had faced similar threats, invasive species, that consumed everything in their path. The solutions they had developed were still here, waiting to be used. Tony, recall all scout ships to defensive positions around our main colonies. Begin manufacturing additional vessels using the ancient construction facilities, and send a message to the Galactic Council. What kind of message, Admiral? Kate was quiet for a long moment, studying the faces of the ancient humans depicted in the archive records. They had given up an empire to allow their descendants to learn wisdom through hardship. Now those descendants faced the same choice their ancestors had made: rule through strength or protect through sacrifice. Tell them that humanity is willing to help defend the galaxy against the Collective, but only if they're ready to work with us as equals. No more Council superiority, no more treating other species as subjects. If they want our protection, they have to accept that the galaxy belongs to all thinking beings. And if they refuse? Tony asked. Kate looked around at the ancient chamber. At the technology that could reshape the galaxy or destroy it entirely. The power her ancestors had wielded was now within human reach, but with it came the same terrible responsibility. Then they'll face the Collective alone, she said finally. But I don't think it will come to that. Sometimes people need to lose everything before they're ready to change. As the communication ended, Kate turned back to the crystal displays, showing the rise and fall of humanity's first galactic empire. The ancient humans had chosen wisdom over power, sacrifice over domination. Now their descendants would discover whether that choice had been worth the price. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had never been the threat the Council feared. They were its guardians, and they had finally come home. The desperate Council delegation that arrived at the edge of human-controlled space looked nothing like the proud assembly that had voted for humanity's expulsion 3 years earlier. Ambassador Veltar stood at the front of the small diplomatic vessel, his crystalline features bearing deep stress fractures that would never fully heal. Behind him, representatives from 38 species waited nervously, their various forms hunched with exhaustion and defeat. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched their approach from the bridge of the HMS Defiance, a massive vessel constructed using ancient human technology that dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. The ship's hull seemed to shimmer with barely contained energy, and its weapon systems could have reduced entire fleets to cosmic dust in seconds. But today, those weapons remained silent. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Amy Foster from her communications. "Station, the Council delegation is requesting permission to board. Ambassador Veltar says they come seeking aid against the Vorthan Collective." Kate studied the readings on her tactical display. The Council's remaining fleet numbered less than 3,000 vessels, scattered across a dozen systems that represented all that remained of their once mighty civilization. The Vorthan Collective had consumed everything else, leaving behind only barren worlds stripped of all life. "Grant them permission to board," Kate said finally, "but maintain full security. Protocols." 20 minutes later, Veltar stood in the Defiance's main conference room, his proud bearing finally broken by the weight of his people's near extinction. Around the table sat human officers whose faces showed no hatred, only the calm professionalism of beings who had learned to put duty above personal feelings. "Admiral Sullivan," Veltar began, his voice barely above a whisper, "I come before you with words I never thought I would speak. The Galactic Council formally requests military assistance from humanity in our war against the Vorthan Collective." Kate leaned back in her chair, studying the alien ambassador who had once called her species a cancer upon the galaxy. And what makes you think humanity will help the same species that voted to destroy us? Veltar's mandibles clicked nervously. Because we have learned what we should have known from the beginning. The ancient archives we have discovered throughout Council space all speak of the same truth. Humanity was never meant to be our subjects. Or our enemies. You were meant to be our guardians. Dr. Lisa Carter, now serving as humanity's chief science advisor, activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's current state. Red zones marked areas consumed by the collective, while yellow regions showed systems where ancient defense networks had awakened to target anyone who approached. The collective isn't from this galaxy, Lisa explained. According to the archives we've translated, they're refugees from the Andromeda galaxy, fleeing from something that consumed their original home. But they're not just looking for a new place to live. They're preparing this galaxy for the arrival of their masters. The council representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Moravian delegate, her usually serene features twisted with fear, spoke up. What kind of masters? Entities that exist beyond our understanding of physics, Lisa continued. Beings that feed on the life force of entire galaxies. The collective are their advanced scouts, stripping worlds of resources and populations to prepare feeding grounds. Veltar's crystalline skin had gone pale. How long do we have? According to the ancient records, the devourers will arrive when the collective has prepared enough biomass to sustain them. Based on their current consumption rate, we estimate 18 months. Kate stood up, walking to the viewport that showed the vast human fleet assembled in the void between stars. Thousands of ships built with technology that made council vessels look like primitive toys, crewed by humans who had learned to work together through shared hardship. The ancient humans faced this same threat millions of years ago, Kate said without turning around. They developed weapons and strategies specifically designed to fight the devourers. That knowledge is why they left their technology for us to find. Then you can defeat them? Asked the Kaleri representative, hope creeping into her voice. We can try, Kate replied. But it will require something the galaxy has never seen before. Total cooperation between all species, with no regard for old prejudices or political boundaries. Veltar stepped forward. The Council is prepared to offer humanity full membership and equal voting rights in exchange for your protection. Kate turned around, her expression hard. I'm not talking about Council membership, Ambassador. I'm talking about the end of the Council as a governing body. What we need is a true galactic alliance where every species has equal voice and equal responsibility. The Council representatives erupted in shocked whispers. The idea of dissolving their ancient institution was almost as terrifying as facing the devourers themselves. You're asking us to abandon 10,000 years of tradition, protested the Centauri delegate. I'm asking you to evolve, Kate replied. The old ways have failed. Your rigid hierarchies and fear of change left you vulnerable to exactly the kind of threat the ancient humans warned about. If you want to survive, you need to learn to adapt. Commander Tony Blake entered the conference room, his face grim with new intelligence. Admiral, our deep space sensors have detected massive energy signatures moving through intergalactic space. The Devourers are ahead of schedule. We have 8 months, not 18. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. 8 months. To unite dozens of species who had spent millennia distrusting each other. 8 months to prepare for a war against entities that had consumed entire galaxies. What do you need from us? Veltar asked quietly. Kate looked around the table at the representatives of species, who had once called humanity a threat to galactic peace. Everything. Your fleets, your resources, your people, but most importantly, your trust. We can't fight this war with some species as protectors and others as protected. Everyone fights, everyone contributes, everyone shares in both the risks and the decisions. And if we refuse? Asked the draconian representative. Then you die, Kate said simply. The collective will strip your worlds bare, and the devourers will consume what's left. humanity will withdraw to the void between galaxies and wait for the next cycle. Dr. Carter activated another display showing battle plans that span multiple star systems. But if we work together, we have a chance. The ancient humans left us more than just ships and weapons. They left us a strategy that nearly worked. The first time. With the combined resources of the entire galaxy, we can make it work completely. Veltar looked around at his fellow delegates, seeing the same desperate hope in their eyes that he felt in his crystalline heart. What would this new alliance look like? No more Council of the Elite, Kate replied. Every species gets one. Vote regardless of their size or power. Decisions are made by majority rule with protection for minority rights. Resources are shared based on need rather than political influence. And most importantly, no species ever gets cast out for being different. The Moravian delegate was the first to speak. My people accept these terms. One by one, the other representatives voiced their agreement. When it came to Veltar, he looked directly into Kate's eyes and saw not the hatred he deserved, but the steady determination of a species that had learned to protect rather than punish. The Zephyrian Empire accepts, he said formally. May the ancient gods forgive us for the time we wasted in fear. Kate nodded, then activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. Prepare for the largest military operation in galactic history. We have 8 months to save not just our galaxy, but the very concept of free civilization itself. As the Council representatives returned to their ships to begin the massive mobilization effort, Kate remained on the bridge watching the stars. The ancient humans had sacrificed an empire to give their descendants the chance to choose wisdom over power. Now those descendants would discover if the lesson had been learned, well enough to save the galaxy they had been born to protect. The war against the Devourers would test every species in ways they had never imagined. But for the first time in galactic history, they would face that test together, as equals under the vast canopy of stars that belong to all thinking beings who called the galaxy home.